90 jury charge. May it please the court, Mr. Foreman and gentlemen, the defendants have been indicted by the grand jury charged with the crime of assault in its first and second degrees. The first count in the indictment alleges that on the 12th of August, they assaulted one James Bernard with weapons unknown to the grand jury with an intent to take his life. The second count charges that they assaulted him with weapons calculated to do grievous bodily harm, which is one of the forms of assault in the second degree. The third count charges that they assaulted him and inflicted grievous bodily harm upon him, which is another form of assault in the second degree. The issue of facts here is very simple. On the 12th of August at about 1 a.m., an automobile was being driven by James Bernard, the complaining witness. In that automobile, there were 6 passengers, 3 men and 3 women. I think that you will realize when you see them that they are all respectable people. In other words, this was not a drunken party. There is no charge that anybody was intoxicated in driving that car. There is no charge that the people in the car behaved in a disorderly manner, so far as I have been able to find out. There was more colloquy there between them, and at one time it appears he was going to allow him to drive on. But finally, he again addressed some remark to the man in the back seat, whose appearance did not seem to please him, and he finally told them to drive to the station house. Brown got on the running board, I believe, of the car and rode to the end of the tube to the station house, which is maintained by that police force at the end of the tunnel, and he stopped in front of it. And at that place, there were some other officers present. Then Officer Brown, if my memory serves me right, again expressed his displeasure at the appearance of the man in the rear seat and told him to get out of the car. He said, "You are looking pretty tough. You better get out of that car." The man in the rear seat was about to arise and get out of the car when the 2 ladies who were sitting with him restrained him and said, "Don't get out of the car. You have not done anything wrong. Stay right where you are." And he did. This is an 80. May it please the court, Mr. Foreman and gentlemen, the defendants in this case have been indicted by the grand jury charged with the crime of assault in its second degree. That we may not at the outset be under any misapprehension as to what that means, let me tell you that assault in the second degree can be committed in one of two ways. A man commits assault in the second degree who willfully and wrongfully wounds or inflicts grievous bodily harm upon another, either with or without a weapon or instrument or thing likely to produce grievous bodily harm. You may say in this case that the complaining witness has a strong motive to testify. He has been severely injured. Naturally, his feelings are not kindly toward those who inflicted this injury upon him. Did that, however, cause him to tell anything that was untrue? Has he deliberately falsified because of his feeling of resentment at the treatment that he has received? On the other hand, gentlemen, did the other witnesses for the people fabricate a story because of their resentment at the injury received by them, or are they telling the truth? It is my duty to call your attention to the fact that the persons in this case who have the strongest possible motive to falsify are the defendants, because they have a great interest in the outcome of this case. Upon the verdict may rest the possible punishment of these defendants. So true is that in times gone by, defendants were not even permitted to take the stand and testify in a case involving their own liberty, but the law in that respect has long since been amended, and they are now permitted to testify in their own behalf. But you gentlemen must bear in mind, in testifying, they have a very strong motive to tell that story, which they hope will allow them to escape the possible consequences of their acts. Gentlemen, a great deal has been said about this case by the counsel for the defense. Going back to the time you were in the house, do you know whether or not anyone was taking any Valium pills or drugs of any sort? I saw some Valium pills, but I didn't actually see anybody taking them. I know there were some there. Where did you see them? They were on the coffee table. So after you dropped Paul Rutledge at the theater, did you go back to this house at that time? No. Where did you go? We went to Chester's bar. What time would you say you arrived at Chester's bar? About 8:45 or 9. Did you remain with those people in Chester's bar? Yes. The whole time? Yes. Did you have an opportunity then to be with Alec Kerwin and observe his conduct at that time? Yes, I did. What room were you in at Chester's bar? Do you remember? We were in the basement. Did you have an opportunity to observe if Mr. Kerwin was drinking down there? Yes, I did. Was he drinking any alcoholic beverages? Yes, he was. What was he drinking? He was drinking whiskey and beer. How long were you in Chester's bar? Until about 10:30 or 10:45. You arrived there about what time? About 8:45. So you were there about 2 hours. Is that correct? Yes. Let's try that one again. Going back to the time you were in the house, do you know whether or not anyone was taking any Valium pills or drugs of any sort? I saw some Valium pills, but I didn't actually see anybody taking them. I know there were some there. Where did you see them? They were on the coffee table. So after you dropped Paul Rutledge at the theater, did you go back to this house at that time? No. Where did you go? We went to Chester's bar. What time would you say you arrived at Chester's bar? About 8:45 or 9. Did you remain with those people in Chester's bar? Yes. The whole time? Yes. Did you have an opportunity then to be with Alec Kerwin and observe his conduct at that time? Yes, I did. What room were you in at Chester's bar? Do you remember? We were in the basement. Did you have an opportunity to observe if Mr. Kerwin was drinking down there? Yes, I did. Was he drinking any alcoholic beverages? Yes, he was. What was he drinking? He was drinking whiskey and beer. How long were you in Chester's bar? Until about 10:30 or 10:45. You arrived there about what time? About 8:45. So you were there about 2 hours. Is that correct? Yes. During that period, would you have an estimate based on your observation as to how many of these whiskey shots Mr. Kerwin had? I would say about 6. Was he also drinking beer? Well, he drank that after he drank the whiskey. How was the beer served to him? He had a pitcher and a glass. In other words, he had a pitcher of beer? Yes. How many pitchers of beer would you say he had that night? About 3. Did he have anything to eat? No. Aside from drinking, Was there anything else that he was doing at this bar? He was shooting pool. When did he start shooting pool? Oh, about a half hour after we got there. Did he shoot pool the whole time? Do you remember? No, he didn't. How long would you say he shot pool? Maybe 3 games at the most. Then what did he do? Then he just stood around talking to one of the bartenders. Miss Bell, have you ever seen people who were drunk? Yes. So you have some idea of whether a person is intoxicated or not. Is that right? Yes. Did you form an opinion as to whether or not you thought he was intoxicated? Yes. What is your opinion? He was intoxicated. Two voice. Here we go. 82 voice. And how long did you live there? About 2 months and a half. Did you have a talk about this case? Yes, sir. And how many times did he see you? Just once. Did he give you a subpoena at that time? Yes, sir. Did he give you any money? $5. He gave you $5? Yes, sir. And how long ago is that? In September. I don't know the exact date, but it was in September. And did he give you any money when you signed the statement for him? No, sir. The first time you got any money was in September when you got $5? Yes. At the time of the accident, were you actually in the elevator? No, I was not in it. No, sir. Where were you when the accident occurred? I was in the room. What room? In room 4, getting a key from the maid. And when the accident occurred, did you have anything to do with the operating of the elevator? No, sir. And when the elevator fell, did you have anything at all to do with the falling of the elevator? No, sir. How far were you away from the elevator at the time it fell? I was in the room. How far is that away from the elevator? I really don't know. It is in the apartment way in the rear room. What was the next thing you saw? I heard the elevator start and I heard it stop short. I heard somebody yelling. At first, I thought it was a lady caught in the elevator. Whom did you see immediately after this accident? After the accident? Yes, yes. And then, did you see him again? Yes, sir. When did he see you again? When I went down to the lawyer's office. Whom did you see down there? This gentleman right there. I don't know his name. What did you talk about then? The same thing as I talked to you about. The accident, that's all. He did not say anything about your age at that time? Yes, sir. Did you see the truck before the truck struck the boy? Well, I could not say whether I saw it or not. I was looking at the ball which I had hit to see whether he would catch it or not. And you started running? Yes, sir. Did you have an opportunity to observe as you were standing there to see whether any other automobiles were coming? No, sir. Were there any other automobiles coming? No, sir. Were there any other automobiles parked on that street? Not that I remember. Your best recollection is that there were not. Is that right? Yes, sir. And did you observe how many men were on this front seat of the truck? The best I can remember, there were 3. In other words, the chauffeur and 2 men sitting alongside of him? Yes, sir. 62 voice. Did you